So you're a teacher of city planning, is that correct? At a college, or
yes.
And your thoughts on Agenda 21? What are your thoughts on Agenda 21?
Well, we have significant climate change issues, and we have significant environmental issues that we do need to do something about.
I see. So you're a believer in global warming?
I'm not a believer in anything. I don't believe. I see things for what they are.
I see. So do you go along with the theory of global warming, man-made global warming?
You don't go along with theories. Theories are to be tested.
Well, how do you feel about global warming? I mean, in a context with Agenda 21, you brought it up that because of our environmental issues that it factors into Agenda 21, which indeed it does through the UN protocols. They're going to use the environmental aspect of that to go ahead and enforce their environmental rules that are basically coming from unproven theories.
Well, you never prove theories.
Yeah, but we're making policy off of basically junk science.
Well, junk science then requires that you have evidence against it.
Well, there's plenty of evidence against it.
Then good.
But it's not being heard. I'll give you an example. $2.5 billion every year by the government are given to scientists who go along with the global warming theory. If you were to write a paper, the mating habits of squirrels, try to get a grant for that, right? You wouldn't get it. But if you went and said the effect of global warming on the mating habit of squirrels, they'd give it to you in a heartbeat if you came out with the right conclusion.
No, if you came up with the right methodology, it's not really.
Yeah, but you do know that the head of one of the founders of the Weather Channel is called the whole thing a hoax. You know that. Professor Curry, climatologist from Georgia Tech, started out believing that there was a consensus about global warming, started looking into the science of it, and said it's all bull. It's fake science. You shouldn't be making policy on it. Yet, that's still being pushed in the mainstream media, still being taught at our schools, still being pushed as an agenda by our politicians when it's been proven over and over again. The predictions have been proven wrong over and over again. They've been caught over and over again fudging coming up with fake, data, fudging the numbers. They've been caught time and time and time and time again. And yet, it doesn't seem like anybody's getting held accountable for this fake science. They keep on pushing this agenda, which is Agenda 21, which eventually eviscerates our borders, puts us in a global government accountable to unelected central planners.
Yeah, well, no, you can't do that, actually.
But they're doing it.
No. See, what you're assuming is that the constraints on sovereignty, it somehow cannot be touched at all under all circumstances.
But they're going beyond any reasonable. When you say constraint, we're talking about they're just completely eviscerating our Constitution through Agenda 21. I mean, things like the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is another global aspect of this globalization, eviscerating, getting rid of borders, allowing economic sectors to be formed that transcend any of our sovereign laws. It makes the Constitution mute. That's what's happening with it. Agenda 21, if you read the book by Rosa Corey, an educator in her own right, it's behind the green mask, Agenda 21. And she completely goes into the background of Agenda 21, the writers of it, why they formed it, what they're doing, how they're using the environmental dictates to subvert local law. Like even in every politician now, if you get elected to a local city council, already automatically you become a member of this environmental movement. You're in the club. And that's why a lot of times local politicians will, by mandate, by belonging to this agenda, are voting against their own constituents. This is going on. This is in the book. Read it. It's called Behind the Green Mask.
But not everybody does that. And in fact, in many ways, that's why at the local level, government officials who represent people, they're accountable to the local population. They're not necessarily accountable to any global agenda. They don't do that. In fact, in most cases, they do their best to represent their own people.
Really? I find that to be just the opposite.
Well, no, but that seems like, see, there is always room for disagreement, isn't there? Meaning that just because I may disagree with my representative does not mean that my representative no longer represents me.
Oh, well, I wouldn't go along to say that. I mean, let me give you just an example. By government mandate, federal mandate, if you have a city over 50,000, you are mandated to put fluoride in the water. Now, fluoride is a toxic waste. It is it is a byproduct of the aluminum and fertilizer manufacturing industry. There are laws against dumping in the ocean. But if the government buys it, it now becomes classified as a product. It's no longer a toxic waste. It is the only substance we put in the water that treats us, not the water. Now, why do they do it? And where did it come from? It came from the fertilizer and aluminum manufacturing industry. If you go to the Nuremberg trial transcripts, the Nazis put it in the concentration camp water, and when they found they did that, IQs dropped as much as 20 points, and the prisoners became more docile and easier to handle. Right after World War II, a thing called Project Paperclip brought over 36,000 Nazis, scientists, intelligence agencies. They put it into our government. Right after that, fluoride shows up in our water as a mandate. Now, there's two things inherently wrong here. Because it's classified by the July 12th Harvard Medical Science School study that fluoride is a neurotoxin, therefore it must be prescribed. Well, our government is not a doctor. They're not dentists. They have no legal right to prescribe us with anything. And you can't control the dosage. Because if you're putting something, that's why the doctor says, I'm going to give you this, but let me know how you feel. They have to know how much you put in you. Well, if I'm a construction worker, I'm thinking drinking 3 gallons a day. I'm drinking a lot more fluoride than someone else. So there's no way of controlling the dosage. There's no scientific evidence at all that shows it fights tooth decay. As a matter of fact, it causes dental fluorosis. It does weaken our bones. It goes into our joints. It is a neurotoxin. So all of this dictates that the people that know about it saying, look, if I just want water coming out of my tap. I don't want the government give me rat poisoning. If I need rat poisoning in my water, I'll go to the hardware store. I know what it did, and I'll put it in my water myself. So here's a clear example of the government purposely poisoning us. So when you say that they're there for our good, I have to question that really strongly.
Yeah, but the point is that, if you don't have government, what do you have?
Well, I think the people can handle themselves very well. I mean, to give you an example. Why do we have governments to begin with? We have governments mostly because the elites needed some mechanism controlling the little people. That's the only reason that governments exist. The people that have the resources, the ones that control everything, real ones, the 13 original families. Well, if they need control. They can't have us out there running around free all the time, so governments were made to control. Now, the least government gives the most amount of liberty. The more government, the least amount of liberty. That's proven. Okay? So we came up with our form of government that hopefully the people would have some kind of control of what they're saying. And that worked well for a while because we were on the farm, we were busy. And so we'd say, you know, you look like a good person. We're going to send you that cesspool named Washington. Go speak for us. That worked well for a while until the people started to stop coming back and stop speaking for us. But right now, we don't need politicians anymore. Why? Because everybody's walking around with a cell phone. We're reaching anybody we want instantly like this. We're already changing the dynamics of the way things work with our comments online.
But our government is changing too, accordingly, isn't it? I mean, technology touches everybody.
Yes, but that's why we can take over now. If we're already changing the way things operate with our comments online, signing petitions, forming coalitions, movements, we're even having revolutions online. Well, why don't we just take it to the next logical conclusion? Why don't we write our own legislation? Why don't we vet it ourselves and vote on it ourselves and cut out these guys that say they represent us but never do? We got the means to do that now. Direct self-government, open source. No more backroom deals. No more lobbyists. No more politicians. No more campaigns. My God! Just think of the money that would be saved. We're going to spend $1 billion on this next election. When you're spending that kind of money, you're doing what? You're selling something. What are they selling us? You need me. You really, really need... No, we don't. We don't need you anymore. We got the technology to govern ourselves now.